Yo, 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 what's good, YouTube? What's good? Stormybman, and I am back welcoming you to the Friday night chop session with Stormybman as we get into it for this Friday, March 5th, 2021, and we are calling this It's Ladies Night, okay? That's right, it's Ladies Night in the Chop Sessions showroom, and we gonna get down. This is episode number 100 for the Friday night chop session with Stormybman, and we are proud to say that we have been here for 100 of them things, right? 100, you know, and we are not ready to stop. We're ready to keep it going. I'm glad that some of you have decided to come and tune in to the Friday night chop session. I understand that we have a live fight card going on this evening where we have the sister Clarissa T-Rex Shields, and she's out there tonight, and she's going for another strap as she takes on Marie Eva DeCare, okay? Or DeCarey. Forgive me if I'm mispronouncing the lady's name. I haven't had a chance to be too much abreast on what's going on with her career, but she has made it to this point to get in the ring with Clarissa Shields, and I hope she tries to make the most of her opportunity because, as Miss Shields states, she's the GOAT, and you have to bring it if you want to fight the GOAT. So yes, we're calling this Ladies Night because the ladies are putting on the show this evening. What's going on with you brothers and sisters out there? Stormybman is here, and we're back with another chop session. And again, as I stated, we are proud to have, this is our 100th show. We could have hit this mark prior to now, but you know, Stormy takes breaks every once in a while as you need to recharge your batteries and get yourself together out there. And you know, tonight is no different, and we're doing that just to be able to keep ourselves fresh and be refreshed as we bring you this content out here on YouTube. So as we get on into tonight's show, we're gonna kick it off, and we're gonna make things a little interesting, a little fun for you, and I hope that you all enjoy what I have to offer this evening, man. So let me go to the chat real quick. We got some people out there that have been out there before the show went live. You guys were waiting, putting your comments in early. I appreciate that. Nothing like having someone wait for you to do your thing. So we got, let's see, B Brown is out there, says the queen of boxing, Mrs. Shields. Yeah, he says blue blood don't respect women boxing. Our queen needs support. Talk to them. All gotta support women also. Hey man, listen, the thing about it is this: everyone has their own passing fancy. You know what I'm saying? And for so long, it's been the men on the scene as far as boxing is concerned. And you can't be upset about those who are a little, you know, on the other side of considering women fighting as something as entertainment for themselves. It is an acquired taste, but it's not any less of competition, because some of these ladies out there really go for it and they go at it. You know what I'm saying? And salute to Don King, who during his time of promoting Mike Tyson, when Tyson resumed his professional career, Don was able to put the ladies on undercards of those big cards that he was promoting. And we got to see the likes of Christy Martin, and you know, then soon after, Layla Ali came on the scene, and someone who was hidden from the cameras and the national broadcasts and things of that nature, we had sisters like Ann Wolfe out there, Lucia Riker, Mia St. John, who got a little more press because she had the Playboy bunny looks. You know, Mia St. John, who unfortunately lost her husband a few years ago, but she fought and still is a mainstay in the sport as far as a personality and ambassador. So is Christy Martin, who's now promoting and everything and trying to generate interest or keep the interest going in women's boxing as well as boxing overall. So there is much to be respected out here when you talk about women's boxing. And I don't know that it's like Blue Blood. Salute to the brother Blue Blood is disrespecting it. He just may have his own take, and he deserves to have that. So let the brother have his piece. Okay, I'm out here doing my show this evening, and I could be tuned in to the matches, but I elected, you know what I'm saying, not to partake in that this evening because I felt like there would be support regardless if I did that, but at least I'm here to talk about it. So that's what it is for me. We got Young World out there. He says, yo, salute Big Storm and salute to the chat. And he says that lit intro. He says, yeah, about the freestyle to that beat. Yeah, that's something else, ain't it? I remember when I first heard that beat, Young World, I said to myself, this sounds like an intro soundtrack for my show. And I went out there and I've been using it ever since. And my brother and co-host Boxing Conversations with Reggie Owens, he knows how hard I work behind the scenes trying to keep things up and going for you guys. And he knows that I try to always come back with something innovative with the music and everything like that. So it's nice to see that I get compliments and great comments on the music and various things that I do for the show. Because we're out here and we're trying to do it for you guys and bring it. You know what I'm saying? So that's what it is. It is what it is. And I also thought that I'd come out here and just remind you that in just a little time, I think it's in April, we got the rematch between Alexander Povetkin and Dillian White. Will it be repeat of this wonderful clip that you see right here playing behind me on the Stormybman Friday Night Chop Session Jumbotron, where you see Dillian's legs get knocked stiff and he looked like an old man that dropped his cane and both of his hamstrings popped at the same time. That's what Dillian looked like on this highlight knockout right here. And hopefully we can have a repeat. Or will it be revenge where the Lycan gets to come back and get his pound of flesh against Povetkin? And if it so works out like that, maybe we get a trilogy out of that. Where we see him again for another 400 days where they get to mix it up one more time just because it's a nice battle between two guys who could not deserve one another more. You know what I'm saying? Eric R says, congratulations for 100 episodes. Stormy B, man, thank you for the congratulations, brother. Appreciate that. Big homie Coop is out there. Says, salute Sifu. And he says, back smack that like button. And Bruce Goes is out there saying, salute Stormy B, man, my brother. Salute to you. And let's see, we have a couple more names that have popped up in there as we've been going along. And I'm just trying to make sure I catch everybody as they come in. We got my man Boxing Conversations with Reggie Owens, who I hope to have joining me shortly as we get ready to talk about this evening's show. And Big Homie Coop says, class is in session. Eric R says, St. John, I remember her. Yeah, Mia St. John. How could you forget, man? She was quite a looker and had some punches, so she was quite a hooker, if you know what I mean. In boxing, not as a, lady of the night. But, yeah, she was a good fighter, man. And who else we got out there? LeVar Cooper is out there. He says, salute, Sensei. Salute to you, brother. Good to see you back. Cletus is out there. Says, salute. Big Texas in the building. Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Come on, Cletus. Come on. Eric R. says, Ann Wolf was a beast. Now she could have me believing in whooping men. Yeah, Ann Wolf was something else, man. And she also trained James Kirkland toward some of his best victories and outings as a professional fighter. Whenever she was working with Kirkland, he always performed at a high level. So just know that when he got stopped by Mr. Canelo Alvarez, Ann Wolf was not a part of his camp or his corner on that night. And if she were, you may have seen a different result in that fight. Who else we got out there? Bruce Gold says, Mia St. John was so popular, she did a Playboy spread. Yeah, but that wasn't why she did it. But, you know, hey, when you got it, why not flaunt it, huh? That's all I can say about that one right there. And let's see who else we got out here. He says, it's jumping up on me again in the chat. You guys are a trip with your comments. Eric R. says, all you can in my review voice. Say, yeah. LeVar Cooper says, smash the like button once you enter the Sensei's dojo. That's right. And take your shoes off. Don't be coming across my mat with your shoes on. Huh? And take your hat off. Some of y'all got them big old nappy heads that it look like you wearing a hat. Huh? Cut that stuff off your head and look like a civilized person. Huh? And then who else we got out there? Xavier Moses is out there. Says, salute, Stormy. Salute to you. And Cletus is saying, facts, Stormy B, man. Yes, sir. Facts. It is what it is, right? But look here, man. Before we get into the ladies talk, man, you know, when I did the Tuesday tussle this week, I kind of went in talking about Mr. Triple G, huh? The man of 1,000 excuses to duck, huh? Triple G, man, we had learned earlier in the week that there may have been an opportunity for him to get a 2-fight deal where it would be home and home on his network and on the opponent who would be Jamal Charlo's network, which would more likely be PBC. Excuse me. He turned the deal down. 2-fight deal, multi-million-dollar deal. I originally thought it was that $75 million, but I don't know if it was that much. But it wasn't too far from that because they were just trying to get the gentleman to bite and get in the ring. He declined. He says he'd rather go after Murata or Munguia. Now, the funny thing about that is Munguia is very young. He's a young guy. He's a Mexican fighter who has a following, and he's a tough kid. He's been in some very competitive matches, but Triple G is sliding down a razor blade into an alcohol bath. It doesn't matter who his opponent is at this point. You can almost expect whomever gets in there to have a chance to get rid of him because the guy has slipped on the other side as far as what he's able to do. And his face isn't holding up to punishment, taking punishment. So quite naturally, they don't want someone who could stick a big heavy jab in his face or someone who can move around all over the place. But this is the thing. Munguia might be able to beat the fight out of Triple G at this juncture. Yes, he's gotten hit. Yes, he's gotten rocked and shook. But he's younger and he's fresher. And this will be an opportune moment for he to get that chance to make a name. And I've said it so many times, and you guys have to understand that when I say these things, it's what the fighters need to realize. When that opportunity presents itself, You're supposed to dive head first on in there and get your opportunity, snatch it by the jugular, and make a name for yourself. It would not surprise me in the least if this happened in benefit to Jaime Munguia. Murata, I'm not so certain. But this is the thing. You have to understand that Triple G wants to pick between these two men because he actually thinks that he could still play this game. But sometimes you play games and you win, and then eventually if you continue to play games, you will find yourself finding out what losing is all about. And I do believe he is ripe for the pickings. But that does not mean that I feel that Jamal Charlo should walk away from trying to get this guy in the ring. I think he needs to do everything within his power that he can do, aside from getting arrested, to get this man in the ring. Because that's a name that he can use to springboard himself forward. Don't allow one of these other guys to steal that opportunity away. We understand that a lot of the prominent fighters who are gifted with athleticism, rhythm, and perpetual motion, as my brother Kurt Sugar likes to describe it, and who have unique abilities that go along with that athleticism, they're being frozen out from opportunities to fight the so-called name fighters who are good, who don't happen to look like them or come from the same nationality as them. So when you recognize these things, the opportunities for you to get in there and make the most of what you can, you should jump on it right away. You should head people off at the pass, take their opponents on, overpay if necessary, pay to fight Jaime Munguia or Murata. Take the opponent away from him, because this man has made a living false flagging through this division and through his career. Remember when his former trainer and coach Abel Sanchez was like, anyone from 154 up to 168, Triple G can handle him, huh? And Andre Ward was like, here I am. And then Triple G was like, oh, no, guys, no, Andre Ward he's too good, Come on, man. No, that was your trainer saying that. The same guy who's trying to convince the masses that black fighters don't sell. Really, who's in the biggest fight, gate-wise, of all time? A little guy named Manny Pacquiao from the Philippines, and a gentleman that he happened to fight whose name escapes me at the moment. But maybe you guys can remind me of that fighter's name. And he happened to be a black guy. Huh? Yeah. So, let's see. We got out here in the chat. Cletus Smith says, Ann Wolf, still a beast. Was at her gym the other day. Hey, man, Cletus, when next time you go to Ann Wolf's gym, tell her about my show. Tell her about my homage to her, because I do have something that I'm going to get into regarding her a little bit later before the show ends. And let her know that she still has love and support for what she brought to the sport out here. Much respect to the sister. I really do like what she did when she was fighting professionally, and I hope that she gets more proteges that she can cultivate their skills and put them out there where they can perform on world-class level, because a talent like that should not be wasted. I would welcome Ann Wolf in a gym anytime, because she's probably forgotten more about boxing than any of these idiots out here today have learned coming in, fresh as trainers. Let's see what else we got. Eric R says that Danny Glover, Mr. Hair. Yeah. Xavier Moses is saluting Reggie. And Cletus Smith says Ann Wolf supports Shields as the GOAT. That's nice. Eric R says Triple G, the man of 1,000 ducks and ducktails, because he could tell you about more than we could probably speak about. You know what I'm saying? Eric R says Clea Smith's not a bad pick to pass the torch to. And SB Stay Sharp, my man is out there. He says salute to the chat, and you OG Stormy B man, salute to you. Stay sharp, good to see you. Hope you got it going good in your gym. I hope you guys are doing well, and I hope you are doing well, brother, because you out there doing some positive things. Anytime you working in the community and you developing guys in that gym, you're doing a service to the community, man. You're doing a tremendous service. So yeah, but getting back to talking about this guy, I would just like to see someone come along and do what needs to be done, and that's take him out. You know, Canelo probably took the last of the fight out of the guy, and he feels like, oh, I could still do it, and I could do it against Canelo. But Canelo has left you in the dust, Triple G. He has no plans and for you, and you need to start considering something else. And if you don't consider something else, one of these other young men out here, and I've said it before, is going to show you, you know, what it means to find yourself on that canvas. I see it coming. I see it coming. I just want to know who it's going to be. I want it to be one of the guys that everybody's always talking about. Oh, you need to fight somebody. You need to fight somebody. Like a Jamal Charlo or Demetrius Andre. Andre would be even easier because he's over there on the zone with you, and you just need a kick in your pants, especially for the disrespect during your career when they brought you over to HBO and they were trying to hype you up as better than Marvin Hagler and all of that foolishness. You know what? All of those guys needed a punch out in the ring. Line them up and let these young fighters punch them in their face for lying like that. You shouldn't have ever been lied to. You were just a steady club type fighter, okay? And you had heavy hands. But I ain't seen you knock nobody unconscious. You've put guys on the canvas. They've gotten up. You've had the ref step in and stop fights. But you haven't had anybody that you've slept. Huh? Marvin Hagler slept people. Huh? Marvin Hagler ruined people's careers. Huh? The only thing you've ruined is the opportunity to make big fights against guys who would be able to compete with you in that weight class. Huh? That's what you've done. So yeah, let's see. We got Stay Sharp says she is a pure pugilist and wolf. Thanks, Stormy B man OG. Yes sir, man. You know, you have to give credit to the people who are out here doing a service to the community. So many times people look to tear somebody down. Stormy ain't never trying to tear nobody down. I try to build you up, even if you might be near a hopeless cause. I will still inject some motivation in there and come at you in a manner of which you got to fight back. I'll give you an example. Say you sleeping, taking a good Saturday afternoon nap, right? And somebody comes and just lays a pillow across your face. Now, not hold it down like trying to smother you, but just lay it across your nose. You standing there, you laying there, you taking your breath while you snapping. As soon as something restricts your breathing, what you gonna do? You gonna wake up, you gonna push that pillow off your face, you're gonna fight for your breath. Life is a struggle like that. Sometimes we get hit in our windpipe and it takes our breath away. But you gotta fight for your breath. You got to fight to persevere and press forward. And it's people like SB Stay Sharp. It's people like myself. People like over there. And Eric R. You said he went over there to Ann Wolf's gym, whatever. Hey, you can see her. She's doing it. She's working with people, trying to bring the best out of something, taking a piece of coal and applying pressure to it to turn it into a diamond. That's what people like this do in the community. It's not always easy, but it's easy to dismiss what they do, which is why you should take note and take solace in the fact that there is somebody who's committed to do these things. Just remember that. Yes, sir. So as you guys come on in here, make sure you smash that like button. Hit it up for Stormy B, man. I know we got some other people out there that's live. We got people doing other things. We got a lot of people trying to call the fights now. You know, everybody want to grab a microphone. Sometimes it's just good to sit back and listen. I remember I was having a boxing conversation with Reggie Owens. And he was like, "OG, you should call some fights." Yeah, if I wanted to try to build the numbers of my brand and all of that, that might be a way to look at things. But I like to listen to the fight call and watch the fight and break it down and make my notes and score it and things like that. You know, I could leave the fight calling to somebody else. And that's just my preference and my choice. But I do know this, calling a fight it's nice or whatever, but understanding the fight is even better. Even better, understanding. That's why I don't pick too many losers. You know what I'm saying? So that be said, let that be that. But yeah, man. So this Triple G cat, man, we need somebody, preferably Jamal Charlo, to get his behind in that ring and let somebody else take that spot and ascend to the heights that are available to them, because that's what we would like to see. That's what we would like to see. You know what I mean? Some competitive matches. Not nobody sitting up there making excuses as to why, they're not fighting so-and-so. Marvin Hagler used to just beat people up, man. You rank number 5, okay. You rank number 8, okay. You rank number 2, okay. You rank number 1, okay. Where's this guy's effort? But I just thought I'd start off with that, you know. But yeah, man, I had also heard that in the heavyweight division, this guy, Joseph Parker, man, they say that he may be looking now to move on from his trainer, Kevin Berry, And let me say this about that. If that happens to be true, good. Because when a fighter changes things up and is looking to get better, you can't fault him for that. Kevin Berry is a limited trainer. He's had some success with some guys moderately. But let's see who he goes with. And I would like it to be a Western trainer, because if he learns some things about switching up gears, if he learns some things about how to secure rounds, if he learns some things about how to be aggressive and at the same time be defensive, maybe Parker could have a breakout fight. But if he continues on as he has been, that's the level where he will be. So to see him make a change at this juncture, that's not necessarily a bad thing. It's just that he has to replace what he has with greater class and knowledge. And there are people out there for that. And I, for one, applaud him for that. If that's what he's going to do, that's a great thing. Get on out there and make some changes. Put your career back on track and move forward and try to get some things accomplished. That's what you should be doing. Willie Beecham is out there, says, happy to be here. Salute everybody. Salute to you, Willie Beecham. Mike 202 says, marvelous Marvin Hagler. Salute Sensei. Yes, sir, man. Yes, sir. Marvelous Marvin Hagler. What a fighter, man. What a fighter. And I wanted to take a quick moment out and acknowledge my man, Chris Colbert. Chris Colbert last week, I didn't get a chance to get it in on the Friday night chop session, but he did an interview with Three Kings Boxing. It was in this. Shout out to Three Kings Boxing for posting the article. But Chris Colbert was asked about, future fights. And he said that a fight between he and Shakur Stevenson would be Donnybrook. He said that that's the kind of fighter that he would like to face, because he understands what Shakur means in the sport as a fighter, as an opponent. He's trying to say that he's complimenting Shakur, that he is a worthy adversary, and that would be somebody that would bring the best out of him. I love that. And he didn't, shy away from it like, oh, who is he fought, or he, no, he was given credit to Shakur for being on the level that he is, and that one day that they may have to rumble, and that would be the type of opponent worthy of consideration for a fight. So salute to Chris Colbert for doing that and saying that in that article, man. And I wanted to talk about that a little bit last week, but we had just ran out of time due to all the subjects that we were covering. But I love that. I love it. I love it. Now, if Shakur Stevenson feels the same, maybe those two guys can get together and be ready to head it up and provide us with the type of fight that we like to see, where you have two highly skilled fighters. They're in their youth and they're right there on a collision course. Maybe you could get a couple of fights out of a fight like that. That would be great stuff. But, all due respect, it's the kind of fight that I know that I would like to see. You know what I mean? And if you go back, check out the Three Kings article on that. Chris named guys, and he was like, when he got to Shakur, he spoke well of Shakur, and he didn't diss him, but he spoke like that's competition right there. That's what I would like to test myself against. And you have to respect that. You have to love that. There's not enough of that sentiment in the sport today. And much respect to the brother for being like that. Eric R. says, fighters these days need permission slips from their promoters signed to take on a challenge. And they ain't having it. Yeah, it used to be the fighters would tell their promoters, I want that guy. And the promoters had to make the fights. Right now, they're hiding behind the promoters, because if they don't really want the fight, they can hide behind the promoters. And you heard Bob Arum says, hey, Bud didn't want to fight this guy, didn't want to fight that guy. The promoter can throw you under the bus. Especially if, like in the instance with Bob Arum, he thinks that he's losing money on a guy. Just think about it. Hiding behind a promoter is the last thing a fighter should be trying to do. So, we got Murr out there. He says salute. And Eric R. says, that's my guy, Prime Time. Yeah, he's a good little fighter, man. And everybody they've had him in there with so far, he's not necessarily doing anything because he's so much better than the competition he's fighting. He needs to step up to that next level now. And I think that he has several levels to go to step up to, meaning, I think that Chris Colbert is a very, very good fighter. And it's time to get him out of those showcase fights and start putting him in more competitive matches. That's where he's going to show you exactly what he brings. Eric R. says, great highlighting, Sensei. Fighters of today like to trash their opposition, and then they want credit for a guy you said was a bum. Yeah, listen, man, it is evident now. You can see it across the sport. Even Clarissa Shields is talking about it. Hannah Gabriels is talking about it. Over in the women's side, it's like people are just ducking. Opposition. It's like, let's just put competition out the way for a second and just talk about opposition. Just to have a body in front of you instead of a capable body. I mean, come on. Just think about it. But we are now joined by my man Boxing Conversations with Reggie Owens. He's in the studio now. What's good with you, Reggie? How you doing?
Doing good. What's happening, everybody?
Hey, man, just enjoying this. Hey, Reggie, this is our 100th show, bro. So we've done 100 of these joints so far.
Yeah, that's what's up. We've been rolling.
Yeah, man. And I was telling everybody when I opened up, I was saying that we would have crossed this benchmark of 100 a while ago. It's just that, every once in a while I'll take a Friday off, just to recharge the batteries and stuff like that, which is always a good thing to do. But, the fact that we did finally make it You know, I'm very proud of that, very proud of what we've accomplished and built so far, and you know how the upward trajectory we've got going behind the channel and the show, because our shows, both the chop session and the post fight, have become kind of a pair and a 1-2 punch, so to speak, and I'm very excited about that.
Yes, indeed. Yes, indeed.
Yeah. So as I was just cooking on it, I had mentioned that I had not got the chance to talk about the Chris Colbert article I had read last week leading up to our Friday show. And we cooked on so much subject that I had left that off the table, but I thought I would just come back with it, you know, as opening filler for this evening's show. Did you get a chance to hear about that article that was shared on Three Kings where he was talking about Shakur Stevenson as a possible future opponent?
No, 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 I didn't get to check it out.
Yeah, they interviewed him and they talked about what he would like to see in his future, and they were given, you know, the typical names at the weight and everything. And when they mentioned Shakur Stevenson, he kind of perked up behind that, and he was like, yeah, he was like, that's the type of competition that I'd like to see myself in there with. And he was basically giving credit to Shakur for being the fighter that he is and being in the division where he could face him, and he would love to match his wares with his. There was no dissing, no putting Stevenson down, but putting Stevenson on par with him, saying like, now that's a guy that I would consider that's on my level, that I would like to see how good I could do against him. And I really like that, because it's like how the old fighters used to talk, and there was none of that, you know, posturing. Like when you hear something coming out of Ryan Garcia's mouth about a potential opponent, or even a Teofimo's mouth where they're a potential opponent, or even a Tank Davis's mouth about a potential opponent, they're always taking something away from somebody else. They're never giving a guy who might be a threat the actual compliment of being a threat. And that's what he was doing in the article. He wasn't putting himself down, and he wasn't overly uplifting Shakur. He was just stating the obvious, that that's a darn good fight, and I would love for it to happen. And he was like, I relish taking on that type of competition. And you just have to respect and take your hat off to a fighter like that. What are your thoughts on that, Reggie? The positivity of how he responded to a potential future fight against Shakur Stevenson?
I mean, it's all cool, but I want to see them just get in there and fight. I mean, he shouldn't say anything lesser, but I think that's cool that he didn't have to stoop to that level, which is probably what they, you know, media expects to hear from a black fighter speaking of another black fighter. So yeah, that's cool right there. But I want to see them fight. Let's make the fight.
Yeah, absolutely, absolutely. But I was just saying it was a breath of fresh air, because that's how the old fighters used to, you know, it's been like, man, that guy right there, he's a killer. He's like, but I'm a killer too. I want to get in there with him. You know, that's basically what's being said. And let's see it happen, you know. But that's where I was going with that. So, but
we know Bob Arum gonna tie it up.
Yeah, but I don't expect Shakur to hang in there with Bob Arum like Bud has done. I think Shakur may, you know, he may recognize enough stuff that he might jump on out of there. At least I hope that be the case, because, you know. But one thing about Bob, though, and his contracts, he does something where there's a point in the contract that it is more of a risk for a guy to not re-sign or re-up with him than it is for them to do so. And that's a bit of a tricky tale right there, where these guys don't realize how he keeps the monopoly, you know. But I will say, going into a deal with Bob Arum and having seen the former fighters who have left his graces, that needs to be the the table by which fighters should negotiate deals with Top Rank and Bob Arum. See, you have to understand that, hey, if I happen to become big, if I happen to accomplish something and become not just a champion, but a unified guy or whatever, you know, I need to be able to protect myself. And I think that Bob catches guys hungry, humble, and not with any proof of anything transpiring yet. And that rhetoric in those contracts, like what he did to Mikey Garcia, that was a prime example of, when Garcia had that long time off. Do you remember that, Reggie, when he had that long period where he wasn't fighting?
Yeah, he was following his case against Bob. Yep.
Yeah, but see, that's what Bob likes to do as well. He'll put you on the shelf, then you going through that legal matter with him. Next thing you know, you've been out the sport for like 2 to 3 years. He does that. He's a dirty dealing guy in that regard. So when fighters have understanding of this, because it's happened to somebody else, they need to use that as leverage for themselves. You know what I mean? And hey, short-term deals. I'm gonna fight as much as I can, but hey, you got me for 18 months. Let's see how many fights I could get in 18 months. I could get at least 3 in minimum, because ain't nobody fighting a lot, right? So you can get 3 minimum in, huh? And if you have quick knockouts on the turnaround on a quick knockout, you can squeeze another fight in there on your schedule. But there's negotiations that guys are gonna have to start doing with these long time rooted promotional groups like Top Rank. What are your thoughts on, Reggie, of some of the pitfalls that these fighters could look out for, and how they can negotiate deals going forward when they've seen it happen to so many other guys time and again?
They have to start paying attention to history, and even their teams, and even the fighters who are there with their fathers. Like, they have to learn these lessons, man. That lesson been out there for the longest. Even before T.O. even signed with Bob Arum, they should have known that. They've been hearing that, and some people, they still have to test the water. They have to feel the heat of the flame before they believe it. And history is everything, man. Learn the person's the history, the shady history behind a person, man. It is very important. But most of these fighters coming in this game is just looking for the quickest $1 million signing, being from the backgrounds that they come from. But the one thing I got to give T.O. is the fact that he's been challenging Bob Arum early on, and I have to respect him for that. Out the gate, even going into that Lomachenko fight, him probably understanding the fact that Bob was going to keep that as an in-house fight, and Teofimo demanded more money. He demanded more money and ultimately got that. And then now he comes into his second fight, and he's demanding more money, and he has got that. He's been beating Bob Arum at his own game, so I got to respect that. But they should have known that before they got into that, because running into Bob Arum could be detrimental for your career, or put you on the hiatus for a period of time, which is an unnecessary period to have to go through sitting on the shelf. And hopefully that's not done to Shakur, and that Shakur can get up out of there. Who knows? Bob probably don't want to test them waters with Jay Prince as being the manager of Shakur, so that can add a little bit of protections. But then again, what is happening with Shakur? Ain't really seeing too much of him to begin. Ain't seen too much of Shakur. Shakur should be getting in the mix. All these dudes should be getting in the mix, but Bob Arum is one of these cats who he's a career damager, and hopefully these cats who are just starting to come into the sport are paying attention to that. They're paying attention to where the careers of top-ranked fighters go versus the careers of Matchroom. Even though Matchroom ain't doing the great, but Eddie does do his thing of getting fighters fights, but also looking what's going on with the PBC. Top Rank, man, that's a place I'll stay away from. And especially after Bob is gone, being that Bob is somewhat in control of operations, but you must look at the other people who are going to be the predecessors to Bob. They make a lot of the decisions. And even when Mikey Garcia recently made a video saying F Bob Arum, F Top Rank, he spoke about that dude, Todd, whoever his name, the son or somebody. He spoke out against him. And I don't know, that's just an iffy place for Fire to go. But if you're going to sign with them, don't sign no long-term contracts. But that's my thoughts on that.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. And well said. We got Murr out there. Tone Brown is out there. He says 100. Rasheed Rourke is out there. He says, peace, my brother Stormybman and Boxing Conversations with Reggie Owens. He says, peace to everyone. Gregory X is out there. He says, greeting brothers and sisters. Greetings to you, Gregory. Good to see you back. Who else we got here? We got Big Homie Coop gave us a host of emojis. I don't know what all of those are supposed to mean, but if you could just type it in words, brother, because Stormy is old school, and you know, trying to read all of those emojis can give me a brain aneurysm or something like that. So type, please. We got D Hodges out there. Rasheed Rourke says Shakur and Chris had a conversation about fighting a few weeks ago on Twitter. I think it was respectful, back and forth conversation. Yeah, man, it's great to see these young men when they can behave like that, because then things can possibly catch root and gain ground, and next thing you know, we'll have something get announced. You know what I mean? So that's right. And Eric R says, great point at Reggie. Shakur should be fighting 4 or 5 times a year right now and becoming a household name. Agreed. 100%. So, yeah, Reggie, let's get on into, you know, I called this particular show, it's Ladies Night, and we know that Clarissa Shields is fighting tonight, doing her thing. She's taking on this woman, Marie Eva DeCare, I think her name is pronounced, or DeCari. They're fighting this evening, and in light of what we've had to say about, you know, boxing from the women's side and everything, Miss Shields is looking to gather another title and become undisputed. This is at welterweight, I believe, in the women's division of boxing. But what I kind of wanted to do, because the fight is on a network right now, or app or whatever, and we're doing our show, so I wanted to take the opportunity to speak about some of the ladies that have preceded Miss Shields. And even though she wants to refer to herself as the GOAT, let me just say that I've seen some pretty darn good fighters before she came on the scene. And, you know, one of them is now a promoter and a manager, and she's dealing with fighters on her own now, and that would be Christy Martin. Now, Christy Martin, who was referred to as the coal miner's daughter when she fought, and Don King would feature her on some of his undercards of his big championship fights, and she performed admirably as a female fighter, but she was the first one to also get on the cover of Sports Illustrated, and she had a crowd-pleasing style, Reggie, where she bore in as a puncher and she bared down on her opponents. And Christy wasn't an ugly woman. She had a nice smile and everything, but when her fights were usually over, Reggie, she had blood coming out of her nose, and she was like a blue-collar fighter, which is like the coal miner's daughter. You know, that whole moniker went together there. And I like to say that some of her undercard fights on King's boxing cards were entertaining. Some of the women she fought were not on the same level as her. And this was at a time when boxing, for the ladies division was there were not enough of the good fighters out there to make it, real competitive. Just as when Ann Wolfe was doing her thing, and we'll get to Ann Wolfe in a moment. But do you know personally, Reggie, anything about Christy Martin as a fighter?
Nah, I just remember that when I think it was her first fight, man, we ended up catching the introduction to her first fight, and we was wondering like, what the heck is this? Because I think it was on she was on the Mike Tyson card, like you're saying, and wondering what this is going to be. But Don King did a great job of promoting her as well. He did a great job of bringing people interest in the one to see that. Like, man, what the heck is this going to look like? So people really tuned in. People in there tuned in, and for a while we talked about Christine Martin. We talked about her, and we were excited about when she went in there. She went in there and looked like she can fight, like she trained. It wasn't like you looking at what you expect when you see women who haven't been trained fight. They go in there with that kind of head ducked down and just wailing at their hands. Like, she really looked the part, and she amazes. She held her own to where people spoke about her and speaking about her on the Tyson card, to where that began to have be part of a conversation, even though you know too much about the other women. But that's the other side that I think hurts women's boxing, is that you create a star out of one individual and there's no other stars created. And that's why that side of the sport will go through its periods of, when this person is here, then they fade away. That whole sector of the sport disappears. But she was very exciting, though.
Yeah. And I decided to put a couple of her highlight reels up as we talk about her a little bit. And as you can see, she was the kind of fighter, like, she bear in on her opponents and look to get in close, and she winged hooks and uppercuts and overhand rights. She would just be like a machine on top of her opponents, and a lot of times she was very effective. But again, like I've stated, not enough opponents that were tough enough for her class. You know what I mean? She was just usually a little bit better than those people she found herself in there with. But very effective, and she did the sport some justice. When she was out there, Christy was a decent fighter, and I just wanted to talk about her a little bit and what she brought to the sport. But just like Ann Wolfe was a larger fighter, and Mia St. John was a little bit smaller, and it was funny that she did end up fighting Mia St. John, and she ended up fighting Layla Ali. But at the time when she was really at her best, those women were not near her. I think the closest might have been Riker, and Riker was a little more polished than Christy. So I don't think she really wanted that smoke with Riker at the time. Now, Reggie, were you familiar with Lucia Riker?
No, I don't remember her Riker's name at all. The women I remember was, because I already talked about Mia St. John's, and I got an opportunity of meeting her at one of these boxing expos out here. I remember her and Layla Ali. I remember George Foreman had a daughter. I remember her boxing, but Riker daughter.
Yeah, Frida Foreman. That's the one who died. Yeah.
Oh, she passed. Oh, wow. Oh, yeah. But those are the only women I remember, because, like I said, that when there's no representation behind the women's side of the sport, it dies. Unless a daughter of a legend is coming around, then they carry something.
I'm going back to the chat. I'm trying to make sure I didn't miss anything before I read this one. Big Homie Coop was laughing about my comment about the typing out the words instead of the emojis, And Eric R says, please type out your words. We got to protect Stormybman. Yeah, because I said it give me a brain aneurysm trying to figure out, it's like trying to do calculus or something, reading what those emojis were saying. Thrill Hill is out there, says, salute Stormy. He says, late, but I'm here. Catch what I miss on the replay. Hey, it's all good, man, as long as you step in the building and hit that like button, man. Big Homie Koo says, great content as usual. Thank you, brother. And Gregory X says, super welterweight. Okay, that's what Clarissa and Maria Eve are fighting at tonight, super welterweight. And he also says, Ann Wolf. Yeah, man, Ann Wolf was something else. She's got the most devastating knockout in the history of women's boxing when she knocked out that big woman, Ward, with an overhand right on her chin. Looked like something Lennox Lewis would do, boy. She just pulverized that woman. Cletus says, who has done what Shields has done? And I'm biased because Ann Wolf is a friend and a mentor of mine. Well, this is the thing about what Shields is doing or has done. Basically, there has to be a first time for everything, right? So Shields, who came in, I think, at 180 pounds or something, Reggie, when she first started fighting, she was at a higher weight. All she did was cut weight, get in better shape, and fight at smaller weight classes. That's all she did. Now, usually people do that and go up, but she did it going down. And she did it the right way because she's young enough to get away with that. A lot of fighters will start off their pro careers at what I call it, an artificial weight. And then as their body matures, they don't have to cut that weight anymore. So they just continue to rise and rise and rise. What she did was she took the opportunity while she was still young enough to do so and shed the pounds. Because let me tell you, how old is Clarissa right now, Reggie?
That I don't know. She got to be still in her 20 something.
Yeah, I'm thinking her mid 20s. So you think it in her mid 20s, it's going to be a hell of a lot easier to do that now than if she were 29 going on 30. You understand? Because all that butt she got in them hips, she ain't going to be able to take that stuff off. And especially if she might be thinking about having children in later years. So it's like she's getting away with that because she's young enough to do it. She's in a position to be in that type of conditioning and shape to do it. But 5 years from now, that won't be on the table. So she has taken a tremendous opportunity that was at the table for her, and she's done it. A lot of people, again, may not have thought of it in that manner, but that's what she did. And she optimized it as best a pro could do. If Ann Wolf was fighting in today's era, it might be something she would have considered. And she was that age. But she's, of course, now she's retired and older. But it's like, that's something that I have to give Clarissa the credit for, because she took what fighters typically do, which is go the opposite way, moving up. I'm going to try to win as many divisions as I can, going up and up and up. Well, she did it the opposite way. She went down and down and down. And doing that, cutting weight, making sure she stays at a certain weight that she can make at that next division going down, and then still stay at a certain weight. That takes a lot of discipline. And I have to take my hat off to her for that, because it's not like she's ballooning and going back up to 180 pounds and then trying to go back down to 154 or something like that. She's staying at a certain weight where she can still make the weight for a fight and then, win another title. So there's a lot of sacrifice in that for her, but she will have made history, and you have to take your hat off for that type of effort and that type of sacrifice. What are your thoughts on that, Reggie, about how she elected to do it in the opposite way, where men usually would go up and chase titles, or women, but in this instance, she took her youth, used it to her advantage to cut that weight and go down several times.
Man, I'm not too impressed with it at all. I'm not at all. I don't like when I see Tank doing it. I think fighters should move up. That's what we've always been viewed as far as what legends achieve, not going the opposite direction. And even just reigning over a division, not just taking the belts and moving to another division, they take some more, defending the titles. Those are the things I want to see. Ain't nothing different from Clarissa than what I would say for the rest of the dudes. I mean, she's doing some profound things. She's carrying this women's side of the sport. These other women need to get in line with her. But moving down and capturing belts, like I don't think nothing impressive of it at all. I think she should be moving up or fighting in whatever's the division with the better rated women in it. Like I mean, with combat sport, I don't hear too many fighters talking about moving down to try to achieve something when it comes to achieving greatness. And then the other thing I just wanted to hit on with I forgot which one of the brothers was saying nobody's done it like her, but I think if other women had the opportunities of being in the social media era, they would have achieved probably the same level of success, if not greater. Even if Ann Wolf had social media around with her type of highlights, because you don't get knockout highlights from women. And I think that's one of the things that really hurts that side of the sport. And Wolf would have been out of the stratosphere when it comes to celebrity and people attracting to female sports. I don't even think Ann Wolf was with any of the major networks. So when I look at some of her old fights, they don't look like they were featured on television. They don't look like televised fights. She seemed to be an independent fighter, which she probably was her own boss or promoter or whatnot. So she didn't have any big promoter to back her. She didn't have a network to back her from what I understand. Even when you go to look for her fights, you can barely find them. The same thing could have been true with Layla Ali if she'd been in the social media era. It'd been different. And even look what the attraction that Layla Ali was able to draw when she started bringing up Clarissa Shields' name. So she still has a bigger following than Clarissa, but the achievement of taking the titles is not a big thing. I think she should be competing with more of the women who are up in class. But then again, a lot of these women aren't that skilled and trained. Not too many women trained in boxing like that. But those are my thoughts.
Yeah. And then when you take a fighter like a Lucia Riker, who was definitely because she competed in like MMA type fights as well, but she could box. She was trained, I think, by Freddie Roach, and she had a way of going in there and seeking and destroying. I really respected what she brought when she fought. A lot of fighters today have benefits of social media that fighters didn't have in past days, but a lot of fighters of today are abusing social media as well. So it's like it's a two-edged sword where no one is getting the optimum out of it without a lot of the negativity as well. I just don't like anybody being able to just have attention and numbers being drawn to them just for misbehaving or doing something of an exploitive nature or something like that. To me, I'm from a time of substance and integrity. That still means something to me. And if I was dealing with fighters today, I would be still stressing that, because at the end of the day, when you look back on your career, you'd like to be able to say, hey, this is what I stood for. This is what I was able to gain and have success in, and move forward from there. A lot of guys today don't have that type of insight, but you can't tell me, when you thought it was good to put a tattoo on your face and now you're like approaching your 50s and you're like, man, I wish I didn't do that. You know what I mean? to have one on your arm or under your shirt somewhere on your body, you know, person where you could cover it up. That's cool. But then when you think about it, it's like, really? You know? So, but there's a lot with social media that goes on today that people just put themselves in situations, and it's, you know, it's hit or miss. A lot of times you can see something very, very educational, very profitable, and something that could even lead people toward being respected, you know, for something. But then there's a lot of other things that make you turn your head and say, oh man, you know, wish it wasn't necessarily like that. I wish it went another way or whatever. So there's a lot to be said, but you can use it to your advantage if you're smart, if you think about what you're doing. And I think a lot of people are not just thinking, because look at this TikTok stuff and OnlyFans. You know, it's like you can come up with a gimmick or whatever, and yeah, you could get what, so many views and people liking you, and then it's like, what's next after that? Is that something to build on? Do you have to do something real crazy again to get people to come back, or are they just moving on to the next freak show? You know, if someone was a fighter and they put highlight reels together and say, hey, check this out, is this what you want to see? This is what I'm able to do in the ring. Watch my skill set, this and that. Like how, you know, football players used to put a highlight reel tape together for colleges. You know, hey, this is my highlight reel tape. Like, remember Ricky and Boys in the Hood? And the scout came to his house and he was playing his highlight tape for the guy. It's like, hey, you know, that's something to do. Put it together for yourself, you know. But yeah. So we got out here in the chat. Cletus says, who has done what Shields had done? And I'm biased because Ann Wolfe is a friend and mentor of mine. Gregory X says, Christy Martin's West Virginia roots were evident in her fighting style. Rasheed Rourke says, Ann Wolfe has the most devastating KO I've ever seen in women's boxing. And Gregory is saying, I'm still convinced that Layla Ali made the decision to retire specifically to avoid Ann Wolfe. I'm going to come back to that comment in a minute, Gregory. Let's see. We got... oh, it shifted on me. Oh, we had quite a few. Rasheed Rourke says, Ali caught Martin late in her career, right? Yes, she did. And Bruce Gold says, Frazier too. Mr. De Niro is out there, says, salute everybody. Cletus Smith says, Ali avoided Ann Wolfe. That was the fight Ann Wolfe wanted the most. She still regrets not getting Ali in the ring. Bruce Gold says, Jacqueline Frazier. Oh, I'm sorry. That is right, Bruce Gold. I said Frida, didn't I? Frida Foreman. I got her mixed up with Jackie Frazier. So, yeah. Thank you for that correction. Reggie, that was Frida Foreman who passed away, but Jacqueline Frazier who fought Layla Ali.
Okay.
Yeah. Bruce Gold says they even promoted Foreman versus Frazier with the women. Yeah. Mike 202 says Timber talking about Ann Wolfe knocking out Ward. Yeah. Gregory X says Clarissa is 26 on her coming birthday. Yeah, she's still young, man. Very young. She's younger than my daughter. Quan says she's 26. Bruce Gold says, but it never came off, that fight between Jackie and Frida. Yeah. Curtis Anderson, the brothers out there, says, salute family. Salute to you, Kurt. And Rasheed Rourke says she's 25, 26. Gregory X says, Ann stays in shape even today as though she is expecting a fight. That's because she's a fighter. And there are guys like that. You know, look at Sugar Ray Leonard. Sugar Ray Leonard is just a few pounds heavier than when he fought at middleweight. He is not that out of shape, I'm telling you. And he's been putting up video clips of hitting the bag and all of that stuff. Sugar Ray was a fighter, man. You know. We got Sister Beverly Rose, Art and Entertainment out there. She says, good evening, Stormy, and she's toasting. What's good with you, Beverly? Good to see you. J.A. Dixon says, did anybody get mad when Manny kept moving up without running through a division? We get mad when you start bringing Manny up and we ain't talking about him, J.A. Dixon. That's what we get mad about. Let's see what else he got. He says, facts. She got the opportunity like Loma, minus the losses. Gregory X says, Ann is a very competent trainer. James Kirkland never lost a fight when Ann was in his corner. She is a taskmaster in training camp. Yeah, I spoke about that early on. Cleta Smith says, facts at Gregory. James is my kinfolk, never the same after leaving Ann. Yeah, man. He probably just got tired of those boot camp training sessions with her. That's what it was. He's like, forget that. Gregory X says that Cleta Smith, I was in row 1 ringside when James lost to Canelo in Houston. Hurt my heart to see such a travesty. Cleta says that Gregory X, she puts through it in. We had another upcoming champion. R.I.P. Black Magic, who died. Oh, man. Sorry to hear that, man. She was training somebody who was looking good as a prospect. And, yeah, I caught up on the comments there, Reggie. But, hey, man, you never know. You never know. But Lucia Riker, Reggie, I got a couple of her highlights here that I'm playing on the Jumbotron. She was the type of fighter that she was like Christy Martin, but with more skills. And she could actually box a little bit. She was tough. She was rugged. I know Kurt is out there in the chat. He's familiar with Lucia Riker. And if you go back and watch her fights, Reggie, you would be entertained because as a woman fighter, she put it down. And that would be the type of fighter who would give Clarissa Shields a lot of trouble, man. She would give Clarissa a lot of trouble, Lucia Riker. She was the type of fighter who came in top condition. She was always focused. She was always ready to let her hands go. She was a good fighter, and again suffered from what some of the other women suffered from, being in a era where there weren't enough of the stiff competition in the weight class and divisions around her. It's like she did away with who was there, but she was able to separate herself, just like Ann Wolfe was, you know, and it's a shame because some of those people are from that era when they really cut their teeth and they put their efforts out there in a manner of which, like, you kind of wish fighters today would. It's like they get paid so much better today, but they don't put the efforts that those of yesterday used to put in the ring. So it's a shame that we're seeing it like that. Now, Ann Wolfe, as it was said earlier in the chat, she was trying to get Layla Ali in there for two reasons. One, because of the payday that would come with fighting Ali. Two, because she wanted to compete against Ali, who had the gift for gab, like her dad, to talk a good game. And she was a little bit like a tough woman, but Ann wanted that opportunity to prove that she was better than her inside the ropes. And Layla just wouldn't give her that opportunity. And it wasn't a business move. It wasn't because of lack of money. It was because Layla wasn't raised by no fool. Her daddy probably told her, stay away from that woman because she don't fight like a woman. That's what he probably told her, man. And hey, if Pops speaks, you think she ain't gonna listen? Let me tell you something, man. Ann Wolfe was something else. You can go watch her highlight reels, and you'll see exactly why Layla Ali didn't make that fight happen, man. You'll see exactly why. Because that lady, she fought Reggie. You can't get some men to fight like Ann fought. Are you hip to her fights, Reggie?
Who, Ann? You say Ann Wolf?
Yeah.
Yeah, just a few that I've seen. And I remember the tall chick you was talking about knocking out. But you know what could happen with Mike Tyson them doing these series they doing, and Layla was hyped to fight. She was hyped to fight Clarissa Shields. Layla and Ann Wolf can get it on if they in shape as well. And then Mike Tyson series. But y'all familiar with Ann kind of a montage, like it was around her birthday or something last year, and I wanted to put something together to kind of commemorate Ann Wolf, but I couldn't find no footage. It was like that one fight from her knocking out the tall lady.
Check the Jumbotron. Check the Jumbotron right now, Reggie. I got her playing. Plus the fight with Ward, but look at her. She fights like a man, and I'm not trying to call her out of her name or nothing like that. I'm just saying she had skills. She could jab, she could shift her shoulders, she put her waist behind her punches. That's why Layla didn't want to do that, because Layla pushed a lot of her punches. There was no snap to everything she did. Every once in a while she'll get good snap on her shots, but Ann, look at those snapping right hands and how she pulls the right hand back like she's supposed to. AJ doesn't pull his right hand back like he lets it languish out there. Look at that right hand. Boom! Right on the chin. This woman could fight, man. She was very exciting, and she could get it done in that ring, man. That was something about her. Ann Wolf was special. You know, she was special. She was the type of fighter that, again, you had to respect out there in that ring. Now, I'll tell you another one we have, and that's Mia St. John, where Mia St. John, now, she looked like the Playboy pinup and everything, but behind those good looks was the heart of a champion. She wasn't as skilled as Ann Wolf was, and she wasn't a ferocious knockout puncher, but she was a fierce competitor, man. And she wasn't like lacking for getting in there and getting her face bashed, because she wasn't worried about her looks. She just happened to look good. But she was in there trying to knock the other person's head off, and she didn't have huge power. An interesting dynamic, because the lady fought like, you know, like you would want to see a fighter fight, and she beat Christy Martin, you know, Mia St. John. And that was interesting, because going into that fight, a lot of people didn't think that would happen, but yeah, she could box, man. And sorry to hear that her husband died, the actor from the soaps. And I didn't know that was her husband until like way into her career of boxing, man. But I know there was only a few St. Johns around, and that happened that they were married. So, and that must have been a tripped out relationship, because her being a fighter and him having to watch his wife getting punched in the face for a living. But he probably didn't have no problems at home, though. He was probably like, "You want dinner tonight, hon?" She was like, "Okay." No, but yeah, she was a decent fighter. She was a decent fighter, and to be respected. I hear today she still works in the gym with fighters and stuff like that. So that's a good thing. And you know, me calling this show tonight Ladies Night, it's like talking about these ladies who preceded Clarissa Shields. You know, they want to refer to Clarissa as the GOAT and everything, but there were some pretty darn good fighters before Clarissa came on the scene. At the end of the day, she may be more accomplished with titles won and gold medals and things like that, but she didn't face anyone like these doggedly determined women who preceded her. And it's a shame that, you know, outside of maybe Hannah Gabriel's, who she beat in a close fight, we should see a rematch of that fight. But, you know, there are not a lot. There are many more, but that doesn't mean that they offer up the the opposition, that some of these women from the past could have offered up. So that's what I, wanted to say about that. But Mia St. John was a good fighter, brought it, and she should be respected for what she did in the ring. And of course, she be stinging. Layla Ali, she brought a lot to the fights, and to the sport. Being the daughter of Muhammad Ali, and, just that name alone, she had to be guided and protected. They couldn't put her in too tough too soon. And it was Layla who admitted, Reggie, that she got motivated to fight after watching Christy Martin on a Mike Tyson undercard. She was like, huh? She can fight? I can whoop her. And she was like, decided to go to the gym and, start training and everything, and started herself a professional career, which was really interesting because her dad didn't the son, Muhammad Jr., he didn't want to box or anything. So to see her want to take up that mantle and be the next boxer in the family, it actually stunned Ali. He was trying to convince her not to fight or whatever. But according to her story and backdrop, that when she was in school, she fought a lot and she fought people in the streets and stuff. She was just one of them, rowdy chicks. So she got into the boxing game. So what do you have any recollections of Layla, Reggie?
Yeah, not so much. I really didn't I knew who she was, but I was never really intrigued with watching their fights. Like I haven't found a woman fighter outside of Layla Ali to really kind of, not Layla Ali, but Christine Martin to really capture my interest. I was over here while you were talking, looking at Lucille Riker, and facially I recognize who she is, but I just don't recall any of her fights. But with Layla, it was just, I watched her first few fights. I watched when she fought either Foreman or Frazier's daughter. I watched that fight, but they weren't too many. The fights weren't that